Just a quick trivia. In the federal government, the Prime Minister selects the cabinet members and is responsible for the operations and policy of the government, while the House of Commons is the representative chamber made up of members of the parliament elected by the people. These representatives are responsible for passing laws, approving and monitoring expenditures, and keeping the government accountable. Today, I have given a chance to talk to one of the members of the parliament, and he shared to us what is the quickest growing way or what is the best way to migrate and settle here in Canada. Welcome back po dito sa Buhay, Canada. I'll just talk to them, okay? Buhay natin sa Winnipeg, Manitoba. So makitrip at makitravel dito sa amin sa Buhay, Canada. So right here, Elevate Mountain. Pinalik man pa. Turning over. Woo! Hi everyone and welcome back dito sa Buhay sa Canada, and today I have a very special guest, and I've been starstruck with our member of the parliament, Mr. Kevin Lamoureux. So hi Kevin.
It's great to be with you, John. I think it's wonderful. You have a great initiative here, and it's nice of you to come out and let's talk immigration or something like that.
So Kevin, can you tell us about something to do if our Filipino people in the Philippines wanting to migrate here in Canada? What are some few benefits that they will get just in case they decide to go here in Canada?
Some of the benefits of being able to come to Canada, I guess, are really more of the economic and social opportunities. It's a totally different lifestyle. If we were to take a look outside Winnipeg today, there's, as we know, snow on the ground. We all wear toots and jackets and so forth. We really celebrate 4 different seasons. But it's a beautiful country. A beautiful country in a different way. The Philippines is also a very beautiful country, a country that I've visited on many occasions. In fact, I might be going back in January or February. But at the end of the day, I think it's all about opportunities, and there are opportunities here in Canada. And it's always nice to be able to see Canada continue to grow as a country that's being fed in good part through immigration from the Philippines, where Philippines has been Canada's #1 source of country for immigrants, I think probably 3 or 4 times in the last 5 years. So we get every year 30,000 plus immigrants coming from the Philippines to Canada. And in Manitoba, it's the fastest growing community. Without immigration, our population would have decreased, actually. So we need immigrants. We love the Philippines, and in many ways, immigration from the Philippines to Canada is getting a little tougher.
Yes.
And maybe that's something that we could talk about.
Yes, that's right. So my next question is, there are lots of programs right now in Canada, and there's more coming up, I guess.
Yeah.
Just like with the rural immigration programs, Atlantic immigration, and even student pathways. But the thing is, it's getting harder and harder for us, especially if we are coming from the Philippines. What will be a tip or an encouragement for those that have a dream to go to Canada, but they're struggling or they have difficult times to process their papers or to comply with all the requirements, especially nowadays that Canada is getting tougher and tougher and getting strict on how the requirements goes in migrating to Canada.
I think, John, what is really important to recognize is that every year we get tens of thousands of people that come from the Philippines to Canada as immigrants. And you're right in your assessment. It is becoming more difficult and complicated. It's more complicated because there are many different programs that are out there that need to be looked at. So, for example, 10 years ago, I would go to the Philippines with Manitoba provincial nominee applicants. I'd take 500 applicants over there. I get people to fill them out, and we would come back, and 90 days later, we get people that are being approved to be able to get nominee certificates, which allow them to immigrate to Canada. Today, it's a lot more complicated than that. And there's more people coming from the Philippines to Canada, but the demand to come to Canada has also increased from the Philippines. And that's why, even though we're getting a larger number of people, there's a much larger number of people wanting to come to Canada.
Yes.
And then if you look at Canada, it's a huge country. When you think of the Philippines, you could put the entire Philippines in the province of Manitoba, yet Canada has 10 provinces.
That's right.
It's a huge, huge country. The population of the Philippines is over 100 million people. Canada is 35 or 37 million people. So it kind of gives you a sense. So the issue is, well, how does someone find out what immigration program they should come to Canada under? So let's try to simplify it. If I was every Saturday, I come to the local McDonald's here, and I get many kababayans or people of Filipino heritage coming saying, Kevin, I would like to get my nephew or my sister to be able to immigrate to Canada. How do I do that? And there's a couple of ideas that I often share with people. The quickest growing way, the best way now, if you're, let's say, under 30 and you want to come to Canada as an immigrant, the best way might be as a student, as an international student. The number of international students has more than quadrupled, 4 times as many as it was a number of years ago. So if you want, you get a university or a college. So for example, University of Winnipeg, University of Manitoba, Red River College, you see if you can get accepted at one of those facilities. Maybe you have an aunt, an uncle, an older brother, or someone here in Manitoba or anywhere else in Canada. Find out if there's a school where you can upgrade your skills. Maybe you want to be a nurse, maybe you want to be a mechanic. Something that allows you to attend a school here in Canada. If you can get a letter of acceptance, then you can come to Canada as a student. When you're here as a student, it allows you the opportunity to work. And when you become a student and you start working, then you will be able to, in most cases, be able to apply to ultimately land in Canada. So today, more than ever, people that are studying in Canada, John, have the opportunity to land in Canada. That's a huge area of growth. So if you're young and you're interested in education, doesn't mean that old people can't also upgrade. They can, it's just a little bit more difficult. But if you're, let's say, 30 and under, you might want to upgrade your education, attend a school, and ultimately land in Canada. That's one way.
That's one way.
That's one way.
Yeah.
Another way is still, in Canada, let's say there's 300,000 immigrants that'll come here. About 45,000 will come under what they call a provincial nominee program. Okay, so there are nominee programs throughout Canada. Some of the provinces, John, where you have a very good chance of coming to, is provinces like Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, the Yukon Territory. The Yukon Territory, it's a small territory in northern Canada, but the Filipino community there has exploded in terms of just the growth of the community. From virtually nothing, now it's into the hundreds, if not thousands, but it's a small territory. There's only 50,000 people that live up north, right? So the reason why I say that is, before I would say to people, look at Manitoba. Look at the nominee program in Manitoba. Now, what I suggest to people is, they really want their family member to come to Canada. The best thing they can do is look and Google search the nominee program. So here it would be the Manitoba nominee program.
Okay.
You might Google search the Saskatchewan nominee program. Each province has a nominee program. They have different criteria. Just make sure it's an actual government website. Do not, you got to be very careful. There's a lot of exploitation of immigrants.
I know.
So you got to be very careful. Make sure you go to a government website.
The official website.
An official government website. The provinces that really need immigrants today would include Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Ontario. In fact, the largest Filipino community lives in Ontario. The next largest is British Columbia. Manitoba has the highest per capita. So, for example, here in Winnipeg North, that's the heart of the Filipino community in Canada. 35% of the residents that live in Winnipeg North are of Filipino heritage, and it's the fastest growing community, right? So that's why Manitoba is the best place to come to, but it's not necessarily the largest of the communities. Ontario, BC, that's where the largest numbers are. Provinces like Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, their province's population is decreasing, so they really need immigrants. So look under the nominee program. Look at what those provinces are doing. Google search Nova Scotia immigration. Make sure you go to the official websites.
Yeah, official websites.
That's right, and you might find something there. 15 years ago, internet played a very small role. Today, the internet can ensure that you're successful.
Yes.
If you have a brother, if you live in Manitoba and you say to your brother, come to Manitoba under the Manitoba nominee program, that might take years. By having a closed mind and just focusing on one province, you might have lost the opportunity to go to another province, right? Now, there's always exceptions. An example of that would be the pork industry. In Manitoba, we need workers to help our pork industry. So if you're a butcher, that's a good thing. There's a very good chance we can get you a working permit, which would enable you to come to Manitoba, which will enable you ultimately to land in Manitoba. But you got to be a good butcher, and you apply to Maple Leaf. There's certain industries where there's a high demand for workers. But always remember, when you think of coming as a possible worker to Canada, it's not you that determines it, it's the employer. It's the employer that has to say, I need to get a foreign worker, and they've got to demonstrate to the government that they can't hire someone locally, so that's the reason why they need to go abroad. And everyone knows that some of the hardest and best employees around the world are found in the Philippines.
That's right.
So that's why you'll find Maple Leaf going to the Philippines quite a bit.
That's right. Kevin, thank you so much for all those inputs, insights, and for the sharing that you give to our Filipino people. Maraming salamat po for this opportunity.
Slamet, I really appreciate the opportunity. I think you do a wonderful job, John.
Yeah,
it's great
thank
to see you doing this.
Yes,
Okay?
thank you. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah.
It's good to meet you.
And there you go, our MP, Mr. Kevin Lamoureux. And once again, if this is your first time watching us into this video, there's more Buhay Canada content. There's more upcoming videos like this on how to migrate in Canada. And as I always said, a lesson learned is always to be a lesson to be shared. And again, I will see you on to our next video. Maraming salamat po.